Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take, episode 92. I'm your host, Justin D. Simone, joined by my co-host, the only person on this podcast who will have a PlayStation 5 this week, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up?
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. I will not get my PlayStation until Sunday, unfortunately. So
Well,
that's that.
that I guess technically is next week, we'll say.
Yeah,
But
technically.
it's better than me because Sam's just sent out a bunch of emails to everyone who I don't know if it was everyone, but a large number of people got emails from Sam saying your PlayStation's not going to arrive until November 27th. So
Holy shit. Are you
yeah,
serious?
and guess what? They're keeping my money. They charged me. They're keeping my money. They said they did not say in the email that I could cancel the order. They literally said, I don't have it in front of me, but this is basically what they said. Oh, we're sorry it's not going to be there till the 27th. You can return it once it arrives. Are you kidding me? Like, you're just gonna hold my money like I gave you a loan on my PlayStation 5. Like, dude, I don't have the product. Like, I don't have the product. I'm not going to have the product. I don't even believe that November 27th date, frankly, because to me that means that they either don't have the units like available to them to ship, or they overtook pre-orders, or their shipping like supply chain is so bad that it's going to take them 3 weeks to ship this thing to me, or 2 weeks or whatever. Like, ugh. So yeah, I'm not confident. I have a feeling I might not be having a PlayStation 5 this year. So we'll see, which is really disappointing because I was really looking
That
forward to it.
is. Wow. I'm sorry, Justin.
So I'm gonna I'm gonna try tomorrow night because Newegg supposedly has said that they're gonna have stock up at 12:01 Eastern time on Thursday morning. So I am
Okay.
going to make an attempt to buy one of those, or maybe check Target, Walmart, Amazon, all the other guys, see if they
Yeah.
actually have stock. But I'm not confident. You know how this goes. So we'll see. I will update you guys next week if I'm successful. Right now, I am very upset because I have a vacation coming up on Thanksgiving week, which is the week of the 27th. And I was really looking forward to just playing my PlayStation 5 that week and really putting it through its paces. But alas, 2020 is
Or they said
just,
you're not going to get it until the 27th, or they're not sending
yes,
out orders until the 27th.
they said it will arrive by the 27th. So if I'm lucky, that's the day I will get it, which that is my birthday. So, I guess that would be a nice birthday gift, but I'd rather have it now or in 2 days.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
but 2020 is just it is. This is just the way this year's gone. It's just it doesn't end, man. It really
Well,
doesn't.
we're
So,
we're over the election arc, so I'm glad that shit's
yeah.
over with.
Yeah, me too.
I know it's not election and this is not a political podcast, but it seems it will be really uncanny for us to not talk about, like, not the election results, but the atmosphere that this election
Yeah.
has caused everyone as
Mhm.
far as being stressed out. I was severely stressed out last week.
Oh, so was I, dude. I couldn't sleep, man. It was bad.
Yeah, man, it was really bad.
Yeah.
And for all the people, this goes on both sides. For everyone who said they don't vote, fuck you, because holy shit, you see how much one vote can change. A couple thousand votes can change everything.
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny, when I was younger, I really was kind of apathetic about voting. I'd say like from like 2012 to 2016, I was really apathetic about voting,
yeah,
and I feel completely differently now. I do, man. I just like, I don't know if I'm going to be voting in every one of my local elections, which I probably should, but
yeah,
I do feel an urge to at least get a little bit more involved there than I typically would, and
yeah. Same.
that is a huge change for me. So, because before, there was no chance I was voting in my local elections, but I just see the landscape it being the way it is. I think there's just a need to get involved, So, um, so yeah,
And a lot of people feel like you. A lot of people feel like you now. And I'm one of
and
those people.
right, and even given the presidential election is like over, it's not going to be over this year, really, in terms of us talking about it, because the side that lost refuses to acknowledge the fact that they lost. So we're going to be hearing about this for a while,
Yeah,
probably
I
up
kind of just want
until
everything to go away, man.
it's not, dude. Like that's my point about 2020. Even the things that happen that we might think are good, they're still tinged or just tinged with like BS, So it's like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It whatever. I'm really hoping 21 just we just like January 1st we just flip a switch and I just find like $500 on the fucking ground in the parking lot, going to my job or something, Like, and it's just like, okay, a real sign that like, okay, this year's going to be different. 'Cause that's what I'm hoping, but we'll see. We'll see. I know all of that came from me not getting my PlayStation 5. Yes, I'm very upset about it. I mean, shit. I host a video game podcast. It's very important to me. Okay. I want my damn console, man. It's important to me. I've been bitching about PlayStation 4 for 2 years on this show, and I've been ready for PS5, and I was going to get it. And
Yeah.
now I'm in this weird spot. I just wish Sam's would let me cancel. That's all I want. I wish I could cancel the order so I could get my money back and figure this out some other way, Now it's just like held up over there with them and it's like, I don't I'm just like
Yeah, a lot of people saying that they're gonna have. I know Walmart. They're gonna have at least 2 in stock at every store, but you can only order them online.
correct. Sony said no in store. You won't be able to walk into stores. They're telling it all their retail partners do not sell these in person. Like you can only have them ordered online. They might have stock, but so
Yeah,
I'm hoping for that with them or Target. I might be able to get it on Thursday, but
yeah.
given the way it happened with the original pre-order, wave, it's just I'm gonna have to pull an all-nighter if I really want one, probably. And I don't know if I'm that desperate. So
I say research making a bot and try to get a bot and
try
something
to
like
do it
that.
that way,
Yeah.
man, dude. Yeah, what happens though when it like I fuck it up and it like overbuys?
Oh yeah, that's true.
It
That's
buys like
true.
20 of them, and I'm like, ah, shit.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. I'll figure it out. Like I said, I'll update you guys on my saga. We'll see. Hopefully, Montrell has his this time next week, and then at least he'll have some
Yeah,
thoughts.
I mean, GameStop they charged me on Friday. I think I put that tweet up.
Hmm.
Uh, came from my bank account. I called them. They said that everything is a okay. I checked the status, and they gave me a delivery date, estimated delivery date of the 15th, which is a Sunday, which I like because I'll be at home,
You'll
so
be
I can
home,
pick it up
right?
immediately. Yeah. So
Yeah.
a couple of my other friends, they weren't so lucky. I heard Amazon has been
Yep.
doing some really crazy shit lately.
Yep.
So I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on with that.
Yeah, because the thing for me is a lot of these places, if they have stock of this on Thursday and they're not using that stock to fulfill pre-orders, that's fucked up. Straight up. Like there's
Well, my thing
no
is like, why? Depending on where the stock is at, I feel like they should do. Okay, this is a day it comes out. So say like if the warehouse is 3 days a drive from me and they're using like UPS ground or some shit, and it takes 3 days to get to me, they should
yeah.
start shipping on what does it come out on the 12th? They should start shipping on the 9th. That way by the 12th it gets to
Well,
people.
see, that's what Amazon does. Amazon's smart. They're the masters of the supply chain because that's their business, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of these other companies just don't give a shit because that's not really their business. Like Walmart wants you to walk into a Walmart and buy stuff. Like online sales is great. Like that's gravy for them, I'm sure. And I'm sure it's a much larger part of their business than it was like 6 months ago before COVID happened. But that kind of change though doesn't happen overnight, so they're not prepared, and the fact that GameStop though is one that like really pisses me off because it's like, guys, your business is video games. You need to understand your audience, like the people you're selling to, your
Yeah.
consumers. We are degenerates. We want our thing literally at 12:01 when it comes out. That's why digital is so popular because you can preload the damn game and stay up all night playing it. It's like
Yep,
that.
exactly.
So like the fact that GameStop can't get that right is insane to me because that's their business. You need to know who you're selling to, your consumer base. So I don't know, but that's why they're not a good company straight up. Like that's why they're borderline failing. So, you know, the rest of them like Target, Walmart, you know, I mean, how angry can you get at them? They're literally a store that they're stores that sell everything, you know, like what do they care that this PlayStation 5 is going to show up 2 or 3 days after it comes out? Like, whatever, you know? And in other industries like movies and stuff, I don't think like people care that much that a movie shows up a day or two after it comes out. Like, are you really
I
chomping
think
at the
like
bit
the
that much?
Marvel movies that may have that same quality of hype as like some of the Marvel movies,
That's
but
true. Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, I think people would be upset if Marvel came out 2 days later, like a day or
Hmm.
two later.
Yeah.
I'm not a big super moviegoer, so it doesn't really personally affect me. But I can imagine if there was a movie that you really wanted to see, and you know it doesn't come out, like the AMC was like, haha, well, we have it in the back, but we're not going to show it for about 2 days.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
for what? So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what wild shit we're gonna start seeing on Thursday, dude. Where like people are getting robbed and like, you
Yeah,
know,
I think that's
dude.
gonna be the biggest thing. I think because a lot of people have been posting up their order numbers and shit like that, and GameStop, Amazon, and other retailers have been saying stop posting up your order number. So people have been blocking them out now, because your
Yeah.
order number contains like your address, so people can come and they can camp out your address and stuff like that. Um,
Mm-hmm. Waiting
so
for the UPS man to show up or whoever.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think maybe around this weekend, I predict a lot of people are just going to be driving around in neighborhoods and waiting,
God.
just to see
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Because the simple fact that it's not going to be open, it's not going to be in stores. Like I think that mitigates a lot of like stick up robberies, but I can see a lot of Amazon package theft robberies going on. So
Yep. Right. Well, and
uh
also I did see some people on Twitter posting up that like I think Walmart was telling them that the package is not going to be in a different box. Like it's going to be shipped just the PlayStation 5 box. Like you're going to see
Are
it.
you fucking
It's
serious?
not going to be within a box. I saw a couple people post that was on their order, you know, and I was like, "Wait, that can't be real cuz if that's real, dude, it's going to be mayhem. Just like people driving around stealing PS5s off people's porches. Like if you can see what it is, shit. I
Are they
mean,
fucking serious?
the thing is it's a certain size box and it's going to be awkward as it is. So even putting it in another box, people are probably going to be able to guess what it is, you know.
Well, you
If you
can put it
know, but
inside like another a traditional box, like
yeah. Yeah.
I,
But yeah, naked, no other box, nothing obscuring it. Ugh, yeah.
that's just
So
as bad as when Nike switched over their packaging. I
yeah,
remember that happened with Nike. They used to send it, obviously the shoe box, and then the shoe box would go into a box. Some brilliant mind in marketing was like, "Hey, how about we our package boxes as well have the Nike check symbol?" And a
yep,
lot of people stuff started
disaster.
getting, yeah, terrible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I can imagine. Yeah, because it's like some companies do that, right? Like Bath and Body Works is actually another one. I know this because my wife is, very into their products, and their boxes are branded Bath and Body Works. So there is definitely a community. There's a community of people who are very into Bath and Body Works stuff, just the same way we're into PlayStation or whatever.
Yeah,
And that stuff is very valuable. I'm like, no joke, that stuff is actually literally valuable. A lot of the stuff they sell is limited always, so they make these limited runs of these soaps and these candles and stuff, and it's like you buy them, they instantly are worth more than what you purchased them for. Like that happens a lot with their stuff. So it's like these companies are like, I don't understand, why does the shipping box need to be branded with your logo? Who cares? Like,
I honestly think they do it on purpose at this point. Like
yeah, they
they
want it to get stolen so that you have to
yeah
go
they
buy another one. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a supply and demand type deal. Like I think there's no other reason. Like you can be the richest person in the world and be like, oh well, I'm I don't really have any kind of grips in reality because I'm rich and I don't really get my stuff shipped to me or whatever the fuck. Like
Hmm.
I just can't see that. I mean, I'm not a rich person, so I don't know. But like, I just can't realistically. You're working in the corporate office, and there are people who are a lower level than you, and they're like, they have to kind of be like, "Hey guys, like that's a bad idea. We shouldn't do this. Like,
Yeah.
we should, just ship it in a regular box."
those are people trying to impress their bosses, and no one is thinking it through logically, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they aren't thinking about the value of what they're doing. They're just like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, Bath and Body Works on the box," or, Walmart on the box, and it's like, I mean, what value
To
does that add to the
to be
to the
honest, I don't
experience?
even like the Amazon packaging.
Same,
I
same.
think it should just be a regular box. But
Yeah,
I mean, I think everyone's used to Amazon now, so it's not as big of a deal. But if it was my choice, I wouldn't have like any kind of packaging for
yeah.
Amazon at all.
Well, they sell so much stuff that
Exactly.
stealing an Amazon package is such a ridiculous lottery ticket that, I mean, dude, like, didn't I tell you this story once? Like, I bought like a PC fan for
Oh yeah.
my PC, and someone stole the package off my porch. And I was mad for like 5 seconds, and then I realized how funny it was that they opened the box and were like, "Well, this is trash," like, I don't even know what this is, it's like,
Unless it's that one lucky person's like, yes, I've been looking for a
oh
fan for
my
my
god,
PC.
yes, this Noctua case fan, hell yes, dude. Like, I was just like, I just laughed. Like, I was like, man, what an idiot. It's like, I'm like, enjoy your fucking PC case fan, bro. Like, I'm like, okay. So yeah, it was pretty funny. But so Amazon's like, I mean, there's certain things you can get on there that are very high ticket that would be worth stealing. But there's also things on there. It's like you're gonna get like a fly swatter. It's like, it can be something so stupid like that. It's not
Yeah,
even
like
worth it.
I just ordered like wasp repellent for our porch.
Yep.
So like
Yep.
like what if somebody just like steals that like wasp repellent? Like, yeah,
Well,
fuck
dude,
out of
yeah,
here.
because I remember when we were still recording in the closet, I ordered like a shitload of the foam padding and stuff for that, and
Yeah.
then I ordered spray on adhesive, and then like a bunch of like 3M sticky things to put them on the walls, and then like the cardboard panels or whatever
Yeah.
to put the foam on. And I would like to think about if somebody stole the box that all came in, because it was a big box, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh yeah, it was a huge box. Yeah, I
you
remember
could
you showing me.
theoretically think like, oh man, there's a lot of good shit in here, right? And then you open it up and it's like $100 of foam, and like, and you're like, what the fuck, like,
Or maybe it's an
so
inspiring singer or rapper who's like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need for my makeshift
no.
studio.
Oh man, I can finish my studio, like,
Yeah.
oh, that's funny. All right, okay, all right, this is not a show about shipping, even though Montrell and I are actually weirdly knowledgeable about this, so but for those of you who haven't listened before, this show is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Let us start, like we always do, with what we've been playing. Mantra, I'm going to let you go because there's a game on here you finished that
Oh
we
yeah.
must discuss.
So I'll get the other one out the way. I've been playing a little bit of League of Legends. Nothing serious. It's the end of the season, so happy for that. With my friends and stuff like that. And unfortunately, a couple of my friends were not trying to play with me, um, or they were trying to use me actually to grind the end season out. I already made the gold for, so I get skins and stuff like that. If you make it to
Mm-hmm.
the end of the season, you end gold. They're still in silver, so they're like, "Can you help me and stuff?" I'm like, "I can
Yeah.
try, man." So
Yeah.
it's been a grind, but unfortunately, we only got one person silver one. So, uh,
Mm.
but yeah, finally finished God of War. I've been looking for a game to settle me through my lull period, and I just picked this up, and I didn't know I was that close to the end with this
Yeah,
game.
I thought you were when you told me where you were last week. I kind of figured so.
Yeah. Um, So after I finished the whole, I saw what you were talking about before in 2018. I think this game came out, or 19.
Yes.
Was it
Yep.
18?
It
Okay.
was 2018.
Yeah, you called this your game of the year. I fully understand why now.
Yeah.
I think as far as story wise, probably one of the best Sony exclusive story wise in like the PS4 generation.
Yeah.
Um, like, cause holy shit, like this, just because I know where Kratos comes from,
Yeah.
his background and everything of that nature. Spoiler alert, also, so you guys might want to skip ahead like maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But when I found out that Atreus, or when Atreus finds out that he's a god, and his whole fucking his
That
character
little,
changes,
yeah,
that
the mini
little
arc. Yeah.
that little character mini arc where he's like, I'm a god, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Da, da,
He's
da,
like
da, da.
murdering people, and he's like Kratos is like totally concerned too. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I did not raise you like this, boy. Boy.
But you know what's funny? I saw that that was old Kratos. Like
Yeah.
that was the old God of War. That whole little mini arc that Atreus
Yeah.
had was like God of War 1 through 3. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, he was callous. He didn't care about people who were in his way, and he was just like, "Get out of my way," and they wouldn't, and he'd just kill them. Like,
Exactly.
it was, yeah, it was kind of like that.
And this is like the first, because it's almost like a pseudo remake. It's a remake, but it's also a reboot, I should say. But it's
Yeah,
also a continuation. But this is like kind of like I don't know if any other games did this where they did a reboot, but they still connected to the older generation of the older games that came before it. And I really like that. I really like how they did not just wipe his past. He wiped his past, and you see it come out because you're the player, so you already know what's going on. And then if this is like your first God of War, you can be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then, I mean, if you're just like stuck under a rock, you've never played God of War, you're probably gonna go back and play the older God of Wars because of this game. But yeah, I
yeah. It's
like
just,
that. I'm sorry.
yeah. It's just that there's moments, even if you haven't played the old God of Wars, that you're gonna see moments in this game that are gonna be confusing to you because, this references to Zeus and
Yeah, yep.
Athena shows up a couple times, and like you're not gonna understand who those characters are if you didn't play the other games. And like the fact that Kratos is Zeus's son, straight up, like that is an important plot point that will never not be important as long as he's alive. So yeah, it's just there are minor connections, and then obviously when you get the Blades of Chaos, like that is obviously also connected to the old games, and that moment has so much weight and power behind it because of the old
Yeah,
games. Like
yep.
it just does. It's that connecting piece, and when that moment happens, it is the best moment in the game, in my opinion. Like that little moment where they send all these shitty little enemies at you to just obliterate with the Blades of Chaos. You're like, dude, I'm sure all of us that played the old games were literally just like, holy shit, the combos are the same. What the fuck? Like, what? Oh, it's just like, oh, it's so good, dude. It's so good. It's just, oh man.
No, it's really fucking good. I don't know, man. Just like all that shit, and then how they tie up the loose, not the loose ends, but like I'm skipping like far ahead, but like even with like Freya and Balder, and you find out that that's her son,
Yep.
and she cast a spell on him not to feel pain or not die, but unfortunately he couldn't feel pain, he couldn't feel any, he couldn't taste anything or anything like
Yeah.
that. So that's why he was like on this mission to like first he was on a mission to kill you or find Freya so that he because I think Odin kind of tricked him and like, hey, you find these guys, then you can probably get your feeling back. Um, but obviously it's all just a plot by fucking Odin. Oh, and by the way, I know we mentioned just like a couple of podcasts ago, a couple of episodes ago, way back. But in this game, Thor is a fucking piece of shit. Let me tell you about this motherfucker. He is the biggest piece of shit in this game.
Mhm.
Like, what the fuck? Like, I love how they flipped it from like the Marvel because they know they know pop culture because they know like Thor is just
Yeah.
like this really good figure and he's a god awful god in this fucking in this game.
Yeah, and you
But
don't even see him.
yeah, you don't even see him, but you hate
Like
him. I
you
he
feel his impact though, and everywhere you go, you feel his impact. Like
yeah,
you just
exactly.
see it. And yeah, it's awesome. The storytelling is excellent. It really is.
Yeah, yeah, I love how they just do. Yeah, everything is it's crazy because it's hard to explain it. It's coming from someone who probably I mean I played the games before, but I'm trying to explain to someone who never played the games. Like it's hard to explain it because even though God of War was a story centric, it was a story game. It had a nice, decent story to carry on the action, the plot point. It wasn't this heavy and deep in story. Like, uh, yeah, the characters were emotional and things of that nature, but they took it up a notch, and then they still kept that action combat feel, but it was dialed back a little bit, but
Hmm.
still on the same level of you still felt how you feel when you play the older God of Wars. Um, and Atreus being fucking Loki, like that's fucking crazy to me.
Yep.
Uh, like
Well,
I was tripping out when he was like, yeah, they
yeah.
wanted to name me Loki or whatever the fuck. I
Yep.
was like, holy
Well,
shit, that's
dude, it's
crazy.
like they flipped Norse mythology on its head while also weaving it into the God of War universe in ways that make total sense. You
Yeah,
know, it's like
exactly.
I just it's expertly done. I can't I never got away from that feeling whenever I think about this game is just that element of it. The writing is like perfect. Like
No, yeah,
I'm sure
you're
you
right.
could point to a plot hole or two in the game, but it just overall it doesn't really matter, you know?
Yeah,
Like I don't
they
know.
really didn't miss with this game at all.
Yeah.
I don't know, just for me, it was just how Kratos is. You saw just certain bits of him going back and forth, and then even when he killed Balder at the end, and it's like I felt so bad for him, right? Because he like literally this whole game is crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine you guys, this is what the game is, and I'm gonna put it in the lamest terms. You're going to the grocery store. You're like, I'm gonna go pick up a bag of chips from the grocery store. Okay. And then all this crazy, like the government comes and snatches you up, and you're like, what the fuck? I'm still trying to get to the store from a bag of chips. And like all this crazy shit is happening. Like
Mhm.
this is essentially what happened with in God of War. Kratos and his son wants to um take their mother's ashes or his wife Atreus' mother ashes up to the top of a cliff and spread them. That's all they want to do. That's their whole mission. I don't even think Kratos is like, this is going to be a fucking mission. Like, we're just going to the top of a fucking mountain. That's it. And all this crazy shit happens. And they still
Well,
never lose point, never lose focus of spreading these ashes. I
mhm.
mean, at the end of the game, you find out like she kind of planned all this, which I don't get that part. That part's kind of like crazy to me,
Mhm.
like how she planned all this out and they predicted that all these events would happen the way they happened. That part's still kind of. I guess we can talk off mic about that because this is not a God of War podcast. But like, that's
We
crazy
can
to me.
certainly make it one. No good.
um, but another point to me that I liked as well was like he tried so hard to be good, or
Yeah.
in his version good. Like he didn't want to fight, even when Baldur was like, "Hey, I want to fight you." He tried his best not to fight anybody. Actually, if you go back and play the game, I just remember certain plot points or bosses. Like he was just like, "I don't really want to fight. I just want to
Well, when
spread these
Balder
ashes."
shows up,
Yeah, when
he says leave. I like leave. Literally, he tries so hard not to fight him, and Balder's the one who starts the shit. So you know, at some point, you got to defend yourself. But
yeah,
like,
exactly.
and then at the end of the game, dude, he literally tried so hard not to kill Balder, so hard not
And
to
the
kill
fact that
Balder.
Freya turned on him was like, I mean, I understand from a parent's standpoint, like you just killed
It's a
my son.
visceral, yeah, visceral emotional reaction.
Yeah,
I get it. I do
and
kind of hope she comes around though at some
yeah,
point,
I hope
but
so too because the words that
yeah.
she said though kind of stung me, and I'm not even Kratos. I'm just bro, like he really tried not to kill anybody. He really tried not to repeat what happened in Sparta. But now I feel like they're going to make him repeat what happened in Sparta.
Well, it's
I,
over now. I mean, he's killed 3 gods, basically.
that's true.
Him and Atreus, they've killed 3 gods, and they are all the sons of Odin, right? I
Yep,
believe.
yep,
All
you're right.
3. So there is a 0% chance that Thor and Odin don't come for him, you know? Like and it's like we're beyond the pale at that point, you know? So it's uh, I I think it's like destined for him to repeat what happened in Greece. It's just that I think the thing is in the second game, like the game is called Ragnarok, and Ragnarok is happening at the end of God of War. Like it's the beginning of it is happening. So
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, shit's gonna hit the fan, dude. Like this whole world that we were in is going to basically get destroyed. I assume over in the next game, and most characters I assume are probably going to die. Like I think like they foreshadowed Kratos dying, and I don't know if they're going to have the balls to do it, but
I think
it,
they are. I think
I
they are.
mean, shit, honestly, what like it's gonna make me really sad. It really is, because I kind of grew attached to Kratos in this game in a way that I never was in the old games. In the old games, I mean, he was just a very aggro, testosterone fueled, dude, and like, but in this game, he felt like a real person,
Yeah,
and there
yeah.
was definitely a feeling of like, oh my god, like Kratos has really grown as a person. It's like great to see. Like I was really happy for him, So it's gonna
Yeah,
be if he does die, it'll be really sad for me. It really
yeah,
will.
and like it's mentioned, like how he grown and changed a person. And Freya said, like, yeah, you haven't changed not one bit. And he says, I have. I felt that in my soul. He said that. I'm
Mhm.
like, because he can kill you right now. Like, that's the old Kratos. Old Kratos was just like, I don't fucking care. I'm killing everybody because y'all got in my
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And to see the simple fact that he was just so like this world hasn't even seen the that's what's so crazy about this game. This world has not seen what the player has seen. Kratos. We understand what Kratos is, and that's
Yeah.
why it's so hard or that's why I keep harping on it because like every god in this game does not know every person that he meets does not know what this man is capable of. Like he
Yeah.
can and will destroy your entire universe.
Right.
That you
I mean, he killed Zeus. Like he literally killed Zeus. Like come on, dude. Like I that's the thing about him is like that's why when Baldur shows up, it is funny at the beginning of the game because Baldur thinks he's indestructible, which I mean, at that point in time he kind of is. Like we
yeah.
don't really know how to defeat him, but is like he thinks he's indestructible and Kratos is standing there like, "Bro, you don't know what you're getting into. Like please leave. Please leave."
But the
Like
player said that too. Like I'm like, yo, please just leave, bro.
yeah,
Just
like this guy, go man, go, dude. And then that fight happens, and it's the most ridiculous. Just like it's insane. It's like a Dragon Ball Z fight almost. Like it's just absurd. You start destroying the entire landscape, and it's just this funny little reference to it too. After the fact, where Atreus is like, wait, where did all this come from, Dad? And Kratos is just like, oh, let's go. Like he doesn't even tell him. Like it's just it's so funny though. But yeah, it's
even
like I think the thing is Mimir is the only person who has any idea like
yeah,
really what
yeah.
Kratos is capable of because he does reference that he's like you're the ghost of Sparta and he's like oh shit. He has that moment where he's like oh, okay and he's like because I think he knows what happened in Greece and very few
Yeah.
people do over here.
Well, it was
So
kind of hinted that
yeah.
Tyr, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Tyr already traveled between the world, already traveled between the universes or whatever.
Hmm.
Between Sparta, uh, it looks like they're gonna go to Egypt, and I think they're gonna go to South America, and then
I
obviously,
think China was in there too, wasn't it?
yeah, I think China was in there too.
Or maybe there might have been Hindu stuff. I don't
Yeah, I can't
remember
remember. I
exactly.
mean, it
I
was
know
like a
Egypt
mix.
was in there
It
for
was
sure.
yeah, Egypt was definitely in there. I think it was just Eastern culture in general, and then they had like
Yeah.
South American culture as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, um, yeah, even if they do, like, they made themselves a blanket writing space for them to go and adventure out in these worlds and see what's going on. So, I mean, I think that's really cool. But yeah, just like I don't know, man. These is one of those characters where it's just like this is kind of what I wanted for Dante, even though he didn't. His passing of the mantle to of the torch to Nero was kind of like it was okay. It was done in a Japanese corny kind of way, like anime-ish type
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is what they're going to do with Atreus. Atreus is going to be the Nero of God of War. But they introduced him way earlier to where the player can be like, okay, I can handle this. I can handle this passing of the torch to Atreus. Now it also depends on Atreus when he becomes a teenager if he's a little snotty nosed brat or not. Like we don't know. So
Right. Well, he's gonna grow up with us too as a player. Like we're gonna see him grow up as players,
yeah,
Like, and that is an important factor. Where I don't know if that like with Nero, I doubt that happened, right?
no, it
Um,
didn't.
yeah, so we're gonna see his growth path, and it's gonna be a more natural kind of pass off of the baton, And honestly, I mean, there's multiple ways Santa Monica could go with this too. Like the teasing of other mythologies to me like means like they could, frankly, they don't need to kill either character, anybody off. They don't need to kill Kratos or Atreus off. They could just have the two of them just like fucking like
Get
hop
split up or
between
something
each
like that.
worlds,
Yeah,
or yeah, split up or what. Like they there's endless ways they could go with this. They could literally make like a series of games where they just like go to each mythos and like, you know, maybe there's some connective tissue between all of them, and they're actually like a problem for the universe, you know, in some way, and he has to like destroy all these pantheons of gods to create a world that is like free of gods or something like that, you know. Like maybe
yeah,
that's a thing. Like there's multiple avenues they could take. So I do think it's going to go a certain way, but I don't know. They surprised me so much with this first game that I trust what they do, whatever they decide to do. I think it's going to be great.
yeah. I think
So
they're gonna do a more contained story in the second one.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
gonna focus more on like I can't even think of the world name now. Over there in the Norse mythology world, Midgar.
Midgar, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna focus more on Midgar. They're gonna focus more on Thor. We may go to Asgard and destroy Asgard. I would love to do that.
Oh
Um,
my god, I can't wait, dude. Oh, that sounds so awesome.
but yeah, I think it's going to be more contained, but I can't wait to see Thor, how they design him. And we already know so much shit about him, and we're already going to hate him as soon as he comes on screen. And that is
Yeah,
some A tier writing there. That's some S tier writing. For me to
yeah.
hate somebody I haven't even seen yet. I haven't seen this character. All I've heard is about stories that Mirror has told me, and
Mhm.
that other people have said, like, oh man, he just killed everybody. Like, I can't believe it because he's an asshole. And it's just like, wow, I hate you, man. So
Yeah.
that's good writing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great game. I think I'm gonna be honest, like one of my favorite anecdotes from this game though is the very end, when you are walking back from spreading the ashes and the credits are playing, and you're walking through that like temple or whatever that has all the prophecies on the wall, and Kratos is explaining where Atreus' name came from.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but I love that story because it's like very nostalgic. Even though we didn't experience it in the old games, like to hear him talk about his life before any of this happened, anything we've ever seen with him happened, like before he was even married, you know, like back before the first game. Like it's interesting to see him talk about that, you know, when
yeah,
he
it's
was kind of
interesting.
just a human.
Yeah, when he
And
was a human, he was a Spartan. He was an actual like Spartan before he
yeah,
became. He gave his
yeah.
life up, to become a god. A god, but yeah, that's crazy, man.
And like the pride with which he talked about that, you know, that
Yeah,
regiment of guys that he served with, was I don't know, it's just I felt like it was pretty powerful. And like Atreus is just like very very into it, you know, because he doesn't talk about stuff like that, so he kind of laps it up while he can. So so
one
yeah,
more point.
yeah, go ahead.
The choreography between the on the last Balter fight, like when you're just like beating his ass with the trays, and they're like doing combos on him. Oh,
Yep.
that was some S tier shit. That was nice.
Yeah, yeah. Travis is like jumping off him and fucking hitting him with arrows in the chest
Yeah.
and like
Oh man,
yeah,
that
yeah.
shit was so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Yeah, no, Trace. I imagine in the next game we're gonna get to play as him a little bit. I kind of assume, or I
Yeah.
hope. And I'm gonna his gameplay is gonna be very interesting to me because it's gonna be a lot less powerful probably than Kratos. It's gonna be a lot more about precision and speed. I would assume,
Hmm.
given who he is, and like his fighting style, and everything. So that will be an interesting change of pace potentially, which will be pretty fun. So yeah, they have announced the next game for next year. I don't believe that's coming out next year, but we'll see. It could be 2022 though, and that's exciting. I mean, that's not that far away, so
Yeah.
we'll see. So is that all you've been playing?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been playing more Genshin Impact, of course. I don't have much more to say about it. I did kind of hit the wall this week, where like resin kind of dictates your progress. Fortunately, update 1.1 is coming out today, the day we're recording, so I will have some fresh stuff to do. You know, after this podcast, on this game, so hopefully that'll carry me a little bit longer with it. And then after that, I'll probably be in more of a routine with it. And then I got back into Apex Legends, this weekend. I played all 3 days because the new season dropped last week, season 7, and with it a new map called Olympus. And Montrell, you did play this a little bit with me. You played for like an hour and a half, maybe, on
Yeah.
Saturday, I think.
Yep.
And This new map is very, very cool. I think it might be my favorite map.
Really?
Um,
Better than was it World's End?
World's Edge. World's Edge is an absolutely fantastic map, but I like Olympus because of its aesthetic and also the fact that it is actually very conducive to sniper play,
Mm,
which I know the Apex community at large probably does not like because of the way this game is. But I am a player who plays, I like to snipe in Apex, even though it's not optimal and it's not the meta. I like to do it, and I'm pretty good at it at this point. And there's a distinct advantage to being good at sniping on this map because there's just areas of the map that are really wide open, and if people have to come towards you and you have a sniper, they're just not going to make it.
yeah.
Like, or if they do, they're going to have to use all their healing in order to get to you. So I do like the map in that regard. Unfortunately, this is marred by a controversy with the battle pass. They changed the battle pass, and they changed the system of leveling. They added this like star system, so you need 10 stars to gain a level, and they made the challenges. They give you stars now instead of experience or whatever. And unfortunately, the rate of leveling is severely degraded from the old battle pass. Like, I played 3 days,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I
Hmm.
probably put in about 10 to 12 hours between those 3 days.
Jesus
And
Christ.
yeah, I know we played a lot, dude. Oh, we played a ton on Saturday, dude. It was insane. But between all that time, I only gained 9 levels, so I only got to level 9.
Okay.
Whereas in the old pass, I probably would have been level 15 or 16, which is exactly where it should be in my opinion, because that means I don't have to play a lot to max the battle pass, and that is what a battle pass should be. You shouldn't have to play like religiously every day for a 90-day season in order to max the battle pass. That is not fun, and that's not going to be fun. So um, Respawn did make adjustments this past week, but they're still not enough in my opinion. We played with the adjustments already there over the weekend. They had already done them. So I'm saying this after that fact has happened. I think they need to make more adjustments, and they need to make some of these challenges more rewarding because they took some things away with this new battle pass that used to give you levels.
Okay.
Um, and you used to get 2 levels weekly for doing daily challenges, and they took those away completely, and didn't replace them with anything. And then they re- they took away the leveling, the experience based leveling system, where you would get 9,000 experience would get you a battle pass level, and then 18,000, then 27,000, then 36, all that. And they replaced it with 5,000 experience gets you a star, which is a tenth of a level. And the math doesn't add up. You need to get 300,000 experience to get the equivalent of what would be 189,000 in the old system.
Mm,
So that is with their reduction too, because it actually used to be 10K experience per star, so it was 600,000 experience to get the equivalent, and that was absurd. So I still think it's absurd. Hopefully they adjusted some more. We'll see. I'll probably report back because I'm definitely want to play this game some more again. I this new map has definitely reinvigorated the game for me, for sure. I am very much into it. So, Montreal, what did you think of it in your short time playing it, though? Do you
I
have any thoughts?
definitely want to get back into it. I had fun. Um, yeah, I just had fun. I might play it solo because that's what I did play one game before we went,
Yeah.
and I liked it. I mean, but I was playing with more so people, I guess in my MMR. So those people weren't that good because I don't play that much as well. It was just
Hmm.
hard keeping up with you because like your MMR is super high. So I'm playing with like people that are like really
Yeah.
good or decent at the game. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah. This is a problem coming back to this game after a while for me too. Is that all three of us are me, Jet, and Snakes are pretty high up there. They're actually even higher than me. And we're all rusty as fuck, dude. So we're just like getting wrecked by people, It's like
yeah,
so by the end of the weekend, I'd say by the end of Saturday, we were really starting to kind of hit a groove a little bit. But my aim was not good when we were playing. I was like, I felt bad because I was like, man, I feel like I need to carry right now, and I'm just not playing well enough to carry. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll make like a Smurf account on Steam, and we can play that way together,
all
um,
right.
and see how it goes. So yeah, and then I've also yesterday, Andy, did his sales pitch on World of Warcraft to me at work, and man, he got me, dude. He got me. So I decided to jump back into WoW. Not classic,
I've been
WoW
looking forward to
retail.
this. Tell me, what is it about? I mean, how is it?
And so I think I played 2 hours yesterday and I played an hour today over lunch. I don't have a lot of thoughts quite yet. But I will say I am intrigued enough to continue. I have
Wow.
pre-ordered Shadowlands, so I am committed to this. I'm gonna play Shadowlands, and I think I'm gonna play with Andy too. So Montreal, if you want to join us, feel free. We would love to do some dungeon runs with you.
Okay.
Um, the game is in an interesting state. It seems like so they did a level squish. I think I've talked about this previously. So the
Yeah.
max
Yeah.
level right now is 50. It was 110.
Oh my
Um,
fucking god.
yeah, so they squished the levels down to 50 to simplify everything and bring everything back into a reasonable place, which I think is a good idea personally.
Yeah.
The max level cap's going to be 60 when Shadowlands comes out. So the game is last time I played it was when Pandaria was out, and it was at the very end of Pandaria, right before like Warlords of Draenor came out. And from what I've talked to Andy about, that was a really dark period in World of Warcraft. From as a
Yeah.
player.
No fucking kidding, bro.
So I picked the worst possible moment to retry the game at that point in time, which is why I haven't played it since. And jumping into it now, I started playing the Battle for Azeroth Alliance content, like story content. And I'll be honest with you, this game is very cinematic. It's really story driven. They've really changed the presentation of the story in this game in a good way, in my opinion. Actually, like it actually has a cohesive narrative, like a main story thread, which is an interesting change of pace from what World of Warcraft used to be. Because back in the day, that was not the case. There was no story thread. Period.
Yeah.
Like like Vanilla and Burning Crusade had no overarching narrative, and Wrath of the Lich King sort of did, but it was like their beginnings of trying that kind of thing, and they didn't really do a great job with it for the most part. There were some good moments, but overall wasn't like super great. Whereas I think more recently they're starting to really they want to have a story that you can experience no matter whether you're rating or not, and I kind of appreciate that. I will say this is not a game that MMO veterans or people who like vanilla will like. Jet and his friend Brad, we needed me and Andy needed a Discord channel in our Discord, and
Hmm.
we told them what it was for, and they gave us so much shit. Jet was just like beside himself with grief. Um,
So, like,
he
in
was so
what
angry at me,
in
but
what
you
ways
know,
is it
yeah,
not for the vets? Like, because like to me, the overarching story is very Final Fantasy 14-ish. I like that. I like that.
yes.
I
I
like that.
was gonna mention that game actually. There
Okay.
is very clear influence from Final Fantasy 14 in World of Warcraft. It is very similar to that game's presentation style, and
Okay.
that is a very good thing in my opinion. Like I consider that a good thing.
No, it
Uh,
is. It is.
MMOs MMOs always struggle with storytelling. They always have, and I think Final Fantasy 14 did the best job of any MMO I've ever played with it. Um, it's just that it's a certain style that certain types of MMO players aren't going to like,
Yeah.
because this game I spent an hour and a half like just in story cutscenes, pretty much getting acquainted with Battle for Azeroth. Like I didn't get to go questing until an hour and a half in, really, and that is going to annoy a lot of people, those like purists. So take that as you will. I actually don't mind at this point. If I'm gonna play an MMO, it probably needs to be the one like this. I am not. I don't. I'm not looking for that hyper grind anymore. Playing
I,
classic last year kind of made me realize that.
yeah, I was just gonna ask that. Yeah, I think a lot of us realize that we're not 17 anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. Really though, seriously.
so that was gonna be my question too. Like, um, because I do want to get into it. My thing is like I just really didn't like the Panda. I also quit. I quit around Cataclysm. That's when I
Yeah,
stopped playing. I didn't
yeah.
like the direction it was going. I stopped playing. I think around Cataclysm, I think the level cap was maybe
It
80 or
was
90.
80.
80.
Oh
Yeah,
no, no,
sorry.
no, 85. Sorry, it was
85.
85.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so and they just kept going higher and higher, and I was just like, I
And the
can't do it.
stats got absurd and out of
Yeah,
control. You had like 200,000 hit points. It was just, yeah, it was
yeah,
silly.
it was crazy. So I do like Final Fantasy 14 for that. Like they keep everything kind of mitigated, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
really flashy, and it's the story is actually even for your classes, the story is just like really good.
Hmm.
As far as that, so but the thing that I love most, and I know we all did this and we all gave it shit. I actually like the theme park ride feel just because of the
Yeah.
lifestyle that I have right now. I can't
Yep.
play five. I can play probably 5 hours max, but that's like on a really good day. I can't do 10 or
Yeah.
15 hours of
Yeah.
grinding a day.
That's like a
And
Saturday where you
yeah,
literally have nothing to do, you know?
exactly. So
Yeah.
like if I can get in an hour or two here and make some progress, like that's cool for me. Like is this that type of game now, or is it still
Yeah,
like
dude, I played on my lunch today and I was full on in questing mode and I gained about 2 levels
oh
in
okay,
that
cool.
hour. So I know like again, I'm referencing our friend Jet cuz he's like a MMO diehard. He loves EverQuest. He likes really grindy MMOs. So he's rolling over and fucking he would hate the fact that I'm saying this, but to me that is okay. I don't hate the fact that I gained 2 levels in an hour. That is fine. I like Montrell said, I don't if I'm gonna grind, it needs to be a very specific kind of game. And
Monster
frankly,
Hunter.
MMOs, yeah, MMOs aren't it anymore, dude. It's Monster Hunter. It's a game like Genshin Impact. It's
Yeah.
it's games like that. It's not an MMO. MMOs, they're rewarding, but they're just not rewarding in the ways I want anymore, you know? And I think that's why this game's appealing to me right now is that it's kind of like I don't have to play this every day, you know, to keep up. Like I don't. I'm probably gonna play it a few times a week, and that's it. You know, it's like I'm already at the point where I'm like, okay, I could probably get to 50 like by the end of the weekend if I really want to, and that sounds awesome to me. You know, and that's I don't know that so. If that appeals to you, then I mean, I think World of Warcraft might be in a good spot right now. Because I think Cataclysm and Pandaria honestly, were two expansions, and then I think Warlords of Draenor was another one. I think that 3 expansion run was extremely damaging to WoW. That really was the period of time where the game kind of tanked a lot in terms of player numbers, and I
Mhm.
think its perception from people who had played it really tanked. Pandaria is one of the worst things I've ever seen a game do, and
Well, it
I
came out at the
cannot.
wrong time. It came out around. It just seemed like they were on fads because you remember
Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda was like the
Yep.
biggest fad around that time, and
Yep.
then Pandoria came or Pandoria came out, and everyone was like, I just remember like Reddit and 4chan be like, oh, fucking Kung Fu Panda over here, Jack Black. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was hilarious.
Well, and I think the thing is, it was such an obvious like Chinese cash grab as
Yeah.
well that
Yep.
is very offensive to a player base who is like your loyal players are from the United States, you know, and that was Blizzard's first like overt moment of being like, oh wow, they really are like Chinese influenced, you know,
Yeah.
is because that whole expansion is got very Chinese imagery and aesthetic and everything like that, and
It
there's
felt like
nothing
one of those.
necessarily wrong with that, but it doesn't fit in Warcraft. Like,
You're right. You're
it's
right.
it's just and sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I was gonna say like I felt like it lost the World of Warcraft touch, not because it was the Chinese, but it felt like one of those cheap knockoff Korean MMOs
Yeah, like a
that
free to play MMO.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it just didn't feel like WoW anymore. Like, and that's why I stopped
yeah.
playing it.
And
It was just, and
yeah,
then Final Fantasy 14 gave me that. This is
it
how
came
a
out around
MMO.
the same time.
Yep, and then
Yep,
it showed me like
yep.
this is what a quality MMO is and everything of that nature. So
Yeah, and I think that expansion too. The other thing for those of us who have played Warcraft games for a long time, that whole piece of lore, Pandaria, the continent Pandaria, is that was a joke from Warcraft 3. And if Blizzard tries to tell anyone otherwise, they're fucking liars. That was an April Fool's joke. That was an April Fool's joke. That character was not like they made a character called the Pandarin Brewmaster, and the one they made in the campaign was named Chen Stormstout, which if you've played WoW, that's a name that should be familiar to you. He was an influential character in a couple of the campaigns in Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne, but it was a joke character though. He would talk about Pandaria and blah blah blah, and it was like it was like a tongue-in-cheek thing. It wasn't really intended to be serious. And then all of a sudden, I had quit WoW at this point because I didn't play Cataclysm. So I'm sitting here as somebody who was like a WoW, like a disenfranchised WoW fan, and I see this expansion announced that's like Pandaria, it's like fucking pandas running around and shit. And I'm like, Blizzard, what the fuck? Like, what were you doing? What are you doing? Like what is this? This is awful. So that point in WoW's history, I think, really disenfranchised a lot of players, and I think a lot of people can't get over that. But the thing is, like, WoW is well beyond Pandaria, dude. Like, well beyond that expansion, well beyond that landmass, well beyond that storyline. So they're like 3 or 4 expansions on at this point from that. So, and I think Legion was the expansion that really kind of reestablished WoW again as like a pretty good MMO. And then I've heard Battle for Azeroth was pretty not well liked, but it was more of a content thing that they just were not ready for launch with the content they needed. Whereas coming in at the end of it, it actually feels very content rich to me. There's a shitload of stuff to do in BFA. So, and it's a very involved game. So I don't know. So I'm going to give it a shot. I think what they've done with Shadowlands 2 with this level squish, they've turned the game into almost like a WoW best of, where you can level in any of the expansions that you want. The only thing not accessible to you is vanilla WoW, basically, but you can play that in Classic. So, you can play any era of WoW you want. You can level in Burning Crusade. You can level in Wrath of the Lich King. You can level in Pandaria if you want. You can level in Cataclysm. It's a very interesting thing, and you can do any of the instances from any of those from any of that content. And because the thing is, I don't know if this is a new thing, but they introduced level scaling now, so everything scales with you. There's no like zone specific levels as far as I can tell that I've seen so far. Everything's been scaling with me, so which is not my favorite thing, but
Yeah,
whatever.
I honestly don't like that either, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's to streamline the experience so that you can do any of the content you want,
Yeah.
if you want a specific type of content. So it's kind of a necessary evil for something that I actually think is a really cool feature. The fact that I can go like level up in Burning Crusade is cool. That's like cool to me. It's not like this like 10 level area. I can do my entire 1 to 50 run in Burning Crusade. I think that's cool. So yeah. So I'll have more thoughts on this as I play more. World of Warcraft is a very important game for me as a gamer, so this is going to be an interesting journey for me. It was really cool to go back into my account though and like see my characters again. All my shit's still there, man. It's like, oh, damn, dude, my account never got hacked or anything. So, it was funny. I logged in and I had more gold than Andy did, and he's been playing, like way more recently than me. I was like, damn, man. So he was like, dude, like, man, you're rich, dude. I was like, okay, well, shit. This is off like a Wrath of the Lich King money, that I was, that I actually had a lot with. So, okay, we've been going for an hour almost. So let's get into the news, Montrell.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we need to get through this stuff, man. So let's start with the most important story of the day. Obviously, N7 Day happened on Saturday, man. What a great day Saturday was. So BioWare posted a blog post and officially announced Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is going to be the first 3 games, Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3, remastered with all their DLC. It will be available for $60 on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC, and it will be compatible with the new consoles as well. They're saying it's optimized for 4K Ultra HD,
Okay.
and it should have all the DLC content, the single player content from the first 3 games. Unfortunately, Mass Effect 3's multiplayer is not going to be So
damn it, are you serious?
I know that's a big bummer for you. I know that's a big bummer
my
for you.
god.
But yeah, that I'm pretty sure that's the case. I don't think they called it out in this blog post, but I've seen that elsewhere. So
okay,
we'll find out for sure when it comes out. But
I really
let's
wanted
start
you to play
with this.
me and DJ on that. Oh man, that's so good.
Yeah. Let's start with just this, because there is another announcement related to Mass Effect. But let's just start with the remaster first. Are you stoked?
Have you been on my Twitter? I
I know,
actually
dude. You've been all over this, man. You were like all caps and people like play these fucking games, like
Yeah, I actually got 5 people that DM me, and I will be buying them the game because they never played the game.
yeah,
Because that's all I can afford is around 5. So I was like, hey, if you never played the game, other people try
mhm.
to DM me, but I'm like, yo, I know you played the game before. We talked about it before.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, I want as many people to experience this game as much as possible.
I agree with
Because
you totally.
yeah, we
Spread the
already
gospel, my friend.
yeah, I'm not even gonna harp on it. Everyone already knows this is one of my favorite games of all time. Um, so yeah, I want EA to see that the love is still there, that this is better than fucking Dragon Age, even though I like Dragon Age. Um, I think EA and BioWare still think that Dragon Age is their best IP when no, this is their best IP. So hopefully
Yeah,
this can kind of spark that interest back. Um, I am disappointed. I will say I am disappointed about one thing. Um, I wish they could have remade Mass Effect 1. That would have
I
been the
know.
icing on the cake for me.
I know. I know. I hope we get that someday. I
Yeah.
really do because that's the thing I'm worried about is that I think a lot of media are going to tell people to skip Mass Effect 1 and I'm going to be sitting here and you're going to be sitting here raging into the void because that game is no offense to the other two, I think has a better story than either of 2 or 3. And I know the gameplay is not even like it's bad.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
fun, but dude, it's so worth suffering through to experience the story of Mass Effect 1. It just is. Mass Effect 1 is a masterclass in video game storytelling. Like straight up. Like world building, all of it. World building, plot, narrative, character development, character relationships, all of it. It's just and it's where this started for BioWare like with the with well that's not 100% true, but it's where like this Mass Effect style kind of really
Yeah.
started. I know they had it with like Knights of the Old Republic a little bit, but it wasn't the
Yeah,
same in
it
that game.
wasn't to the extent, yeah. Like Jade
Yeah,
Empire, they had it as well. Like they were still trying to still trying to find it, in my opinion, with Jade Empire and Couture 1 and 2. But they
yeah,
nailed it with like Mass Effect.
yeah.
Um
So play Mass Effect 1. I'm just gonna say that.
I did tell people to play Mass Effect 1, but I did give them a disclaimer that the gameplay is very dated. And the only reason someone put in the comments, the only reason why it feels dated is because it's actually an RPG game. It's not an
Yeah.
action game.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you approach it like it's an RPG, like it's intended to be, then you will understand how it's supposed to be played. Like supposed to build your character a certain or not a certain way, but if you build your character a certain way, you have to put people in your team that kind of work with your character, and there's different builds. You have a tank build.
It's about gear and stat modifiers and things like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, it's
Where
an
the second
actual
two games,
RPG.
yeah, the second two games have very little of that stuff. So
Exactly. So that's how you have to kind of approach it, in my opinion. So that's what I was trying to tell them on Twitter. And I did see an article actually that was like, "Hey, you guys should play Mass Effect 1." And it lists the reasons that we mentioned, the storytelling, and everything like that.
well,
So,
characters too, man. Like characters like Tally and Garrus, and Liara, like they're beloved. They're beloved because of Mass Effect One. Like Mass Effect One is where those characters were introduced, and that's where we learned who they were, and that's when they were their most innocent. Mass Effect Two, Liara's not even in the game for most of the game. Like she's not a
oh
party
yeah,
member.
she's right. You're
So,
right.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, anybody that remembers her from Mass Effect 2 is lying to themselves because she wasn't in the game. She wasn't a playable character except for in a DLC. And Tally and Garrus were part of your party in Mass Effect 2, but they were very different characters from who they were in Mass Effect 1. They were not the same people, really. And like I'm okay, they were the same people, but they had grown a bit and they were different. They had different motivations than they did in the first game. Like Tally in the first game is this like really like fresh, like young, just like naive kind of person who
Yeah, yeah.
feels like anything's possible,
And then on
which
two,
in Mass
she
Effect it kind of is, but
yeah, and then on two, she becomes more grounded in reality.
yes,
When
yeah,
especially when she comes back to the fleet, you see
yep,
like even her fleet, even though like the older people, they're still like, for the flotilla and all. Like, I mean, once you play the game, you understand. But they're for their culture, and that's nothing wrong with that. But she was like, we have to be realistic about shit. This is not going to work. So I don't know. It's just the game is really good as far as that. Then you play with the literal racist.
Oh yeah, yeah, man. First game had, yeah, and that's an interesting thing. Like,
And then you have to
it,
choose like between their lives. And you like, yeah, one's a literal racist, and the other one, he's not that bad of a person. He's just like pretty much annoying and is just there. But it's like
yeah,
the simple fact that I have to choose, and I'm like, wow, I'm really about to take a life. And it's like you grow up with both these. I mean, they're in your crew and everything of that nature, and
yeah,
and then you understand why she's xenophobic towards other races because of the contact war, and how humans and Taurians are just like Taurians like fuck you, and humans like whoa dude,
well,
we just in here,
yeah.
so
Well, a
it's
lot of it's rooted in the way her father was treated.
exactly
'Cause he fought in that war, yeah, and I won't go deeper than that. Play
yeah
the game
yeah
and
yeah, you'll
listen to her
find out.
story,
Yeah,
but
but like, yeah, a lot of that is,
yeah,
yeah, like you said, rooted in how her father was treated and things of that nature. Um, and then it even explores like religion, how they're like, how can you believe in religion when we're out in space? And it's just the game is really good. I feel like I'm just gonna mention this and then we can move on. But I feel like the game, which kind of got lost in Andromeda, um, this game was really progressive and
yeah,
didn't even try to be. Like that's what it was natural as far as, but Andromeda forced the progression, if that makes any sense. I don't want to sound
yeah,
like a fucking Nazi SJW hating dude or whatever, Gamergate dude or whatever. But no, it really was forced. Whereas in
yeah,
this game, they had all those elements. There were gay couples, there were trans couples, there were all these different races and everything and sexualities, but they didn't put it to the forefront. You just saw it through storytelling and like
yeah.
writing and good
Well,
writing.
dude, like, they made a race of aliens who literally weren't male or female. Like, they were
Yeah,
not gen this was in 2007, guys. Like like the Asari don't have genders, like they can mate with any race because of their biology. Like that that's awesome, Like,
yeah.
so yeah, this game was very ahead of its time in terms of that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it's a great series. This is a great series. I'm very excited about this. I stopped playing the Mass Effect trilogy earlier this year because I just knew this was coming. Like, the rumors just
Me
would
too.
not stop.
Me too.
And eventually I got to a point where I was like, huh, I should go back and play Mass Effect 2. And then I was like, man, they're about to do a remaster. Fuck this PC shit. Like, it's just such a hassle to play these games in their current state right now, even on PC, that I don't like. I just want to play something optimized on console that works and is ready to go and looks great and like loads really quickly and doesn't have any of the bullshit that the current games have. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm waiting for this remaster essentially. So
So
um
I was like Justin. Well, I wasn't like Justin. I didn't play Mass Effect 1. I played Mass
yeah,
Effect 2. So that's why I say you can play Mass Effect 2 and get away with a lot of shit. You can. But you don't understand the relationship, especially like some of the later characters like Liara, and like when you meet Garrus, but he's Archangel. Like I'm not spoiling anything because that's literally the beginning of the fucking game.
yeah,
Of Mass Effect 2. He's Archangel or whatever. So it's like you don't understand the relationship between those characters. But then even in Mass Effect 2, like I did, that was my only game I played. And I loved it. So I feel like you can get away with playing Mass Effect 2, and then if you want to, you can go back and play Mass Effect 1.
mhm.
Um,
Well, we talked about that back when I was playing these again. Is that Mass Effect 2 was designed to be an entry point.
yeah.
They made that game so that you could jump in and not need to understand Mass Effect 1. It's just that Mass Effect 1 is still relevant and very important to the
Oh
story of
yeah.
the final two
Yep.
games. So they didn't completely eliminate it. It's just like they knew that not many people played Mass Effect 1 because it was an Xbox 360 exclusive for a long time, like
Yep.
it was not a very wide audience they were grabbing with that game. So I think they knew that, which is why this game was designed kind of the way it was. But it does suffer, in my opinion, because of that, where the story ultimately is not as strong as 1, and it might not even be as strong as 3, but I really need to play 3 again to say that definitively. It's
So,
just that the character arcs
oh
and the
yeah,
character stories are amazingly good. Like,
I will say,
top notch.
I think Mass Effect 2, the reason why it's a good entry point, I think it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Obviously, the overarching story, I'm not going to spoil that. I'm not even going to tell you the overarching story is. Um, the overarching story is kind of meh, but the character arcs are, to me, rivals Mass Effect 1. So you get that really good storytelling in Mass
Oh yeah.
Effect 1.
Oh, I think they're better than Mass Effect 1.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. They're you get that really good storytelling of Mass Effect One. You still get that world building. You still know who the organizations are that you work for. They still lay everything out for you, and you get that really good gameplay that gets improved in Mass Effect Three. Whereas the story in Mass Effect Three, even though the overarching story is better than Mass Effect Two, is not as strong as Mass Effect One and Three, or One and Two rather. But Three's gameplay is like top notch in my opinion. So it's the
Yeah.
best of both
Yeah.
worlds. And two is like that nice gray area. That's why two is such on a high pedestal for me. If you're saying story wise, it's one, but like combat wise, it's three. But like everything all together, like what's your overall
It's
favorite one? It's two. So
And
uh,
yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely. Like, I'm not saying 2's a bad game. I'm not saying it's overrated. It's not. It's not. It's as good as everyone says it is. It's just there are some kind of caveats if you want to really look at it, like really analyze the game. It's not a perfect game in every way. But it's like every game kind of has its flaws. That's kind of why I am also disappointed a little bit with this announcement. Is that frankly, to me, I almost want them to remake all 3 games. And just like make these amazing like Final Fantasy 7 remake level remakes of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, dude. Like, can you
yeah,
imagine that? Can you imagine that,
I think
Montreal?
I
Like,
think this franchise is worth that. Honestly, I wouldn't be
I
opposed to
do too.
that.
And I hope sometime before we die, we
That
get that at
happens.
some point.
Yeah,
I really do hope that, but I don't know. EA has not generally not been that company. It's taken them 10 years to even figure out they should do this. So we're literally a generation. We went an entire generation without a Mass Effect remaster trilogy. Like,
I
what?
kind of blame that on Andromeda. I blame that on the
Yeah,
failures of Andromeda, and I feel like if Andromeda had did better, we would have got this a lot way sooner, in my
yeah.
opinion.
So along with this, though, Casey Hudson confirmed that they are working on a new Mass Effect game. He didn't say
Ooh.
anything really more than
Yeah,
that.
with the veteran, he
Um,
did say veteran team. I want to put note on that. He said the veteran
I
team.
see. That's true. That's true. That was part of the post. So, I mean, Montreal, does this excite you? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to continue Andromeda? They're going to go somewhere
I,
else?
you know what? I'll be completely honest with you. I see the potential in Andromeda.
I do as well.
Uh, can you hear my cat? She's like
Yeah,
crying out there.
that's hilarious. I love it.
uh, but but yeah, I feel like the story is there, or the groundwork for the story is there.
Yeah.
Andromeda, as far as like the combat, phenomenal job. I think the combat is the best in the fucking series. In my opinion. Like I know I give Andromeda a lot of shit. You didn't really play Andromeda. I give a lot of shit for its story, but holy shit, the combat is like just so fucking good.
Yeah.
So hopefully they continue on with that combat, and they kind of branch out on that. But yeah, I just think the writing needs to be fixed. And the reason why I put the air quotes, I know you guys can't see me, but I put the air quotes around veterans is because it was a long standing thing that BioWare's B team handled this, which is not, their I want to say their sideline team, or
Well, it was a different studio in BioWare. It was BioWare Montreal, right?
yeah, yeah.
Closed after
And
Andromeda came out.
exactly, and they got absorbed into Motive. They got absorbed into Motive, but yeah, so that was the long standing thing, and it was so many excuses why this game, as far as writing and things of that nature, and the glitches when it first came out was like terrible. All that's resolved now, but that's why I put the air quotes around veteran, and that's why they put veteran inside that blog post, because they want people to know that, hey, we are working on this.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it too. I agree with you. I actually think they should continue Andromeda and just work with what they have there, because I think the groundwork, the idea of Andromeda is awesome. Like going to a different galaxy and meeting all these races and all that stuff. Like, and there was also content they never did with Andromeda that they wanted to do, but the game just did so poorly they axed it. Which was finding one of the colony ships. I think that was never in the game.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that is I think that part, like, if they don't do that, what are they going to do? They're going to go back to the regular Milky Way and kind of go into the
Mm,
future. Like, what would you
no,
do?
I
You know,
think they should just stick with the Andromeda galaxy. We only explored one galaxy, by the way, so
right?
they can
Which is nothing
exactly. Which
compared to the original Mass Effect trilogy, where like you would go into a galaxy and there would be a few planets you could go to, and that's it. And there was like dozens of those.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So I think they can expand upon that because, like you said, we only a lot of people were upset about the one race thing. There was only one new race of aliens, and I had to understand once I took my hater blockers off. I had to understand that this is only one galaxy, so we may get
yeah.
other
Think about
alien
that. Like,
races.
imagine you go into the Perseus Vale, which is where the Geth were, and you go into one of the clusters there. Like, all you're going to see is Geth.
Exactly,
Like
exactly.
that, it actually makes sense when you really think about it.
Yeah. So, um, like you said, the groundwork's there, and I personally can't wait. I think they should continue. I'm glad that they have all hands on deck, or not all hands on deck, but Bioware
Yeah,
is getting back to their chops. They got Dragon Age in the works. They got Mass Effect obviously in the works, and then they're still working on fucking and Anthem. So I mean, looks like they're trying to get back to where they were early 2000s, mid 2000s. That Bioware, because that's the
yeah,
Bioware we want. Like
right.
how Justin feels about Blizzard is how I feel about Bioware. Like
Yeah,
I've been following them for a while, so yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, fair enough, man. I'm excited. I think the fact that we're seeing this so soon after Andromeda, because honestly, right after Andromeda came out, like 3 or 4 months after, they closed the studio down, they stopped making patches for the game and all that stuff. That was a dark time for
Oh
Mass
yeah,
Effect fans, because there were reports coming out. Jason Schreier was saying that like Mass Effect the series is on ice, like they're not going to make a game for a while, and then they started working on Dragon Age 4, and it was like it really felt like we weren't getting the Mass Effect for a long ass time. And the fact that they're already working on a new one now is very encouraging to me. Like that's great. This is way sooner than I ever thought we'd get another one.
yeah.
So,
You're right. You're right.
and like you said, the fact that they made sure to key on it's a veteran team making this, I think it's going to be hard for them to make a bad game here. I think the thing is with BioWare right now is that there was just such a gap between Anthem and Dragon Age 3 that it was like there was two games in there. There was Anthem and then Mass Effect Andromeda. But we have to remember that Mass Effect Andromeda was made by a side team, right, which they
Yep.
closed. And then Anthem was a game made by the core team, but it was made in such tumultuous circumstances and with such poor leadership, and honestly was a type of game that BioWare had never made before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm concerned about this new Mass Effect or Dragon Age 4. I actually
I'm
think
not. I,
get them back to their bread and butter, what they're good at, and I think they might be able to make great games.
so
So
here's my. I mean, here's my thing about that. Uh, so you remember during this time period,
yeah,
even though I still think EA is the same EA, I think they
yeah,
are more focused. If that makes any sense, they
hmm,
have their money machines. So they got their FIFA, they got their Madden, and now they have Apex. They have three guaranteed money machines coming
yeah,
out. During that time, they were trying to monetize everything. Everything was like, yo, we need to monetize this, monetize that. And they looked at BioWare and they were like, hey, you do this. Now I think they know what their team's roles are. They got Dice. They let Dice do Dice now. You guys do
yeah,
your Battlefield. That's why we didn't get a Battlefield this year, or for like the last 2 years, actually, I think. We didn't get a Battlefield because now they're not trying to compete with Call of Duty. They understand that, hey, Battlefield games take time. You're not going to get a Battlefield out every year like Call of Duty, and we just can't stay with them.
right,
Um, they let their Madden team, unfortunately, do their Madden team. and let their FIFA team do their FIFA team, but they're going to let BioWare do their BioWare thing now. They're not going to rush BioWare. I think that was I think stress from that was the biggest key factor in why Anthem failed, why Dragon Age Inquisition barely got off,
Yeah.
why Andromeda failed, even though money wise it did really good, but like critically it was a disaster. So I think these studios are just really stressed. And now that they understand that they can't constantly do that to these studios, they have to make good quality games. Because I think this year, the last 2 years actually kind of showed them that. Look what happens when you give a team 7 years to make 6 years to get a game. You get Ghost of Tsushima, which is a fucking masterpiece. You get that
Yeah.
shit, right? You get games like God of War. You get games like fucking Final Fantasy VII, like remake.
Yep.
You get all these games that re-up their money. Genshin Impact. I'm pretty sure that game took a long ass time to make. And you
Yep.
get your money instantaneously because people look at the quality of the games that you put out. If you put out $2 billion worth of investment in your game and we see that $2 billion, you're gonna get that $4 billion back instantaneously. I mean, I threw up an absurd number, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Like you're gonna get that money back.
Mm-hmm.
I take Destiny as one of those things too, where they reallocated money into that franchise, and the viewers and the players saw that, and now we're flocking back to Destiny because we're like, you guys know what you're fucking doing now. So I
Mm-hmm.
think EA is that EA is finally seeing that. Maybe they had a change of leadership, or maybe someone that was working in the game studio is now one of the execs and is like, hey, this is what we need to do. So
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of pulling a Phil Spencer, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever the case, I'm encouraged. I think Bioware is on the road to mending, and I think the games coming out this next generation hopefully will bring them back. All we can all just hug,
Yeah.
and forgive Bioware for their failures, and they can come to us with something excellent. So we'll see. We'll obviously any news we get about the new Mass Effect, we will keep you guys abreast of because we are very interested here on this podcast in that game. So okay, so the next few stories are all Sony related, so I'm going to kind of combine all these into one for the most part, except for one of them. So Sony released a humongous, absolutely massive FAQ on PlayStation 5 on their website. It is absurd how large this article is, but there are some key pieces of information that I want to make everyone aware of and then discuss here with Montrell. So Sony announced in here that basically, so you will not be able to play games off of a USB drive, like a USB flash drive, which makes sense. I don't know if you can even do that now on PS4, but you will be able to transfer games over for storage purposes to a flash drive. Now, we all saw that teardown video where there's an expansion slot for a second SSD inside the PS5. Well, Sony says for the time being at launch, this expanded storage slot will be disabled. You will not be able to add a second SSD into your PlayStation 5. So um, they said in the future they're going to enable it, but they're not prepared to do so yet. So that is a big hit to me to this whole thing because the storage on the PS5 is frankly kind of abysmal. It's an 825 gigabyte SSD, but after the OS and everything else that's on there, you're only going to have 664 gigs available to you of space, which is not good. That is that is not good at all. And there honestly are some things happening with this too that this is going to be much worse than current gen because Call of Duty, the new
Oh
Call of
my
Duty
god.
Cold War has announced that the PS4 version is going to be 90 gigabytes on PS4, and on PS5 it's going to be 130 gigabytes. And I honestly started thinking about why that might be, and honestly I came to the conclusion that it's probably 4K, dude. Like there's going to be 4K textures in these games, and those textures are huge. Like they're
Yeah.
going to be ballooning the size of these games. So the size problem with games that we've been discussing on the show is not going away with PlayStation 5. It's probably going to get worse, in fact, in a lot of ways. And the fact that the console doesn't have a large storage capacity at launch is not great. It's not a good thing. So So keep that in mind with this as well. They also said the DualSense does have a headphone jack, so that's great. You can still plug headphones in through that for audio purposes. And you will also hold on, there was one other thing from this fact that was very, very important here. Oh yeah, that's right. So they announced the resolutions that the console are compatible with, and they are 720p, 1080i, 1080p, and 2160p, which is 4K. And notice in there's one that is in the middle in there that is not present, and that is 1440p. So 1440p resolution will not be supported at launch with PS5, and they said currently they don't have any plans to do it either. So, but if they get enough demand, they may uh, add it through software at some point. Which this is a big blow to PC gamers that have consoles and don't play on a TV. And then there's one other thing related to hardware that I want to talk about as well is that PSVR is also not going to be compatible with PlayStation 5 games. So, what that means is, let me explain this because it is kind of confusing. You will be able to use your PSVR on PlayStation 5, but you will only be able to use it with PlayStation 4 games that have PSVR compatibility. So, a game like Hitman 3, which is going to be on PS4 and PS5 when it comes out, it has VR functionality within it. You will only be able to use that VR functionality if you own and are playing the PS4 version of Hitman 3 on your
Okay.
PlayStation 5 in backwards compatibility mode. You will not be able to use it with the PlayStation 5 version of Hitman 3. So that is a kind of a I don't know how big of a deal this is in terms of like selling units or anything like that, but this sucks for people who have PSVR because that means you're going to have to inherently buy a new unit whenever they do decide to release that. And Sony said there isn't a new one coming anytime soon. So it could be a year, 2 years, 3 years before we see one. So, Montrell, given all that, what I just said, everything that I just said, this feels like Sony's like they seem to want to do this with all their devices because they did this with Vita too. It's like they just throw all this shitty information at you in like as confusing a way as possible so that you can't parse it well enough on your own to be like, oh, fucking Sony, like pitchforks aren't coming out, But a lot of the things that I just said kind of suck, and it's not great.
Only one that really applies to me is the 1440p. Because I am not a really big 4K person, and if games give me the option to play at 1440p instead of 4K, I would want to play that option of playing 1440p. I'm not the biggest 4K person. I don't have a 4K TV. I
Yep.
am going to buy one, but it's like last list of my priority. I don't even have it on my Christmas list, so it's like um,
Right.
that really sucks. To be honest with you, another thing that really sucks is the memory. I did see that memory thing. Um, just forgot about it until you read it. I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I forgot about that. Only 640 gigs, I think, are going to be available, something like that, around launch, which is
Which is
not good at all. Another thing that I don't play the VR, so that sucks. But that does suck for people who do play VR. And
well, because you're
I
gonna have to play an inherently inferior game to use it.
exactly. And another thing that I was thinking about that I should have thought about before I pre-ordered these games, before I pre-ordered the PlayStation, I was really on the fence too. Like I was really borderline about to cancel my pre-order,
Yeah.
um, and go to the Xbox Series X. And it's not because the only reason I kept it is because of Dark Souls. I'm sorry, Demon Souls,
Yep.
and Spider Man, and
Yep.
because I can play Godfall on PC, but uh, that's really the only reason I got it. I'm keeping it because I really want to experience those games, and I haven't played Spider Man, so the experience Spider Man on the new consoles would be really good as well. But on that same note, a lot of these games are not getting upgraded. I mean, we
Yep.
knew about it before, but it didn't really hit me until I thought about how little each console has. I mean, Xbox really has no launch games, and then PS4 has two. And I could have waited for those two to be. I could have waited for Demon Souls and Spider Man. I could have waited. Um,
Yeah.
and I didn't think about it because I'm like, all these really great games are coming out, like Watch Dogs and everything of that nature. I don't know if that has a PS4 version or PS5
Yeah.
version rather. And then like we obviously know that Cyberpunk doesn't have a PS5 version and it's not being upgraded because I looked at the list. So it's like it's only a couple games like Borderlands 3 and some other games that I'm not really interested in that are getting upgraded
Hmm.
for the PS5. So the better experience is right now, I think for the first year, I think the better experience in my opinion is the Xbox Series X. Just because
Yeah.
of that lack of uh upgrading or I think it is an upgrade. Yeah, upgrading that the games we give that they'll take advantage of that SSD drive and possibly have a little bit better graphics. But honestly, I just want the better SSD drive. That's all I want
Hmm.
as far as that. And Xbox is offering that for I think 90% of their games at this point.
Yeah. I think there's certain games like Demon Souls is a native PS5 exclusive,
Yeah, yeah.
so that is going to be a game that's really going to showcase what the hardware is capable of. So it's going to be games like that. Unfortunately, yeah, I mean you're right. Like the Sony first party games will be optimized for PS5, definitely like Miles Morales, I'm sure, but like third parties are going to be a little bit more hit and miss. And I think I want to go back to the 1440p thing real quick because this is bigger than it seems in terms of impact. It obviously impacts PC gamers or anybody that uses like a computer monitor to play their console on, which I did for about 2 or 3 years actually, and it's a very great experience. Actually, it's not that much worse than a television. If you're somebody who has like a computer desk and you don't want to buy a TV, it's a great alternative to having a television. So that sucks because 1440p is the sweet spot for PC gaming right now. Like that is the resolution. That is the 1080p. Like
Hmm.
1080p is old and come on, like like what is it that you're not supporting 1440p? Like what? Like how hard is it to just turn that on and make it compatible? Like I'm sure there's some amount of like software compatibility they need to do and even maybe firmware, but it can't be that hard, man. Like what? It just seems so random that you pick that resolution because this also sucks for games that have like dynamic resolution scaling and things like that
Mm.
where say the game is gonna like in a section where it's too intense for the console to handle, it'll reduce the resolution down in order to compensate and keep the frame rate higher if that's an option. And it's like is it not going to be able to display at 1440p then? Like it's going to go down to 1080p or something like that? It's like I don't know. It's just the whole thing is it's just one of those things. It's like why couldn't you just fit that in there, because I don't know, it feels like a feature that a lot of people like aren't going to know about, that's something that it's buried in a PlayStation blog post like 33% down the page that is this massive like it looks like 10,000 word page full of a whole bunch of ridiculous information that no one cares about except for a few things. And it's like come on Sony, like this is such a shitty way to announce this, in my opinion. So I don't know, it's just like really disappointing on that front. The SSD thing makes sense because I don't think they have any partners that they've partnered with for compatible SSDs yet. So even if it was enabled, you wouldn't be able to put an SSD in there because there aren't any that work with the
Yeah,
with the console. So it makes sense that they're disabling it. They're just taking that out of the equation right now until they have products they can sell.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, the PSVR thing obviously sucks as well. Like I said, that's not really great either. But
yeah. It
it's
doesn't
just
apply to us, but it's like it really sucks for people who are really into the VR scene.
right.
Um,
Yeah, and these kind of things, we're not hearing anything like this for Xbox Series X. Like this is a very like Sony centric story and episode, really. But it's because like Xbox is having a fairly smooth launch. I know their Xbox Live went down today, on launch day, but overall, like there's none of this shit coming out. And maybe Xbox isn't disclosing things, but I don't think that's the case. I think they just might have made a better machine, in terms of usability and these kind of minor functionality things,
yeah,
So because it displays it's compatible with 1440p monitors, like the Xbox Series X and S are. They both are.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, see.
like, what the hell, Sony? Like, why? So I don't know. Whatever. Freaking Sony. We got one more Sony story though. This is not strictly gaming related, but it is kind of gaming adjacent, I would say. So the Sony is reportedly planning on buying Crunchyroll, the anime streaming website, for about $1 billion.
Yeah, they've been at talks to this for
Now,
about a week, right? It's because I know the story came
yes,
out last week.
and it's looking like it's pretty certain that it's going to happen. We included this because, like I said, I think this is fairly gaming adjacent. Like, anime fans and gaming fans have fair amount of crossover,
Yeah.
and I do think that this might have an effect on PlayStation in some ways. In the sense that, like, we could see Crunchyroll bundled with PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now or something like that, or you'll see it on the console more prominently than you would before. And this also could affect their relationships with Namco or some of these other anime centric companies, because I think it was you that told me too that they own Funimation as well.
Yeah, they do.
So this is kind of a thing Sony seems to be pursuing in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I said that it's a joke. I said that they're trying to become the Disney of anime. Like Disney took all the like the American IPs and everything of that
Hmm.
nature. So they're just swooping up all the Japanese IPs or the Japanese streaming services, and then I think they're going to come for the Japanese IPs as well. Um,
Yeah,
I can see them doing some kind of like combination with Funimation and Crunchyroll. Just I've been wanting that, to be honest with you. Just I know a lot of
yeah,
people don't like that, but I've been wanting that because I like Funimation. They have dubs that come out the same time as the subtitles do, so I prefer dubs. Um, uh, and I feel like with Sony, they probably are going to include it in some kind of like deal with your PlayStation membership or whatever. And I think that
yeah,
would be pretty cool. I mean, that would logically make sense. I don't see why they wouldn't do that, in my opinion. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it would make me likelier to use Crunchyroll. I don't use them because I don't want to pay for the subscription, but I also don't want to watch ads during a 20-minute anime episode. So it's like, when I do want to watch anime, I have in the past like subscribed for a month or two. So if it was somehow tied to my PlayStation, I might be likelier to do that. I am watching the Naruto Shippuden anime through Crunchyroll right now, which, interestingly enough, you can do for free and there's no ads. So, which is interesting. But yeah, it's just an interesting deal. Sony's, instead of buying game studios or game companies to combat Microsoft, they're buying anime companies. So it's an
I,
interesting
I think
interesting place for them to go.
I think they're just really trying to solidify their foot in the West. I mean, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
the East.
yeah,
They
yeah,
know they're
yeah.
huge over there, so I mean, it makes
Right.
sense to do that.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on. We got a couple more stories to go. So this game we had talked about before. So Riot had announced a game called Ruined King, which is a League of Legends universe-based RPG, turn-based RPG, which I believe we had talked about last year when they had that big like blowout stream where they announced like 12 games or whatever.
Yeah.
But this game officially is now set to be coming in early 2021 to Switch, PS4, Xbox One, Steam, and Epic's Game Store, and there will be free upgrades to the next gen consoles as well. Yeah, so this is a game developed by Airship Syndicate, which is the studio that had made Battle Chasers Night War, and Darksiders Genesis. And it looks like it's a turn-based RPG,
Hmm.
which is in the vein of like Final Fantasy, I think, of the old Final Fantasy games, which would make sense because Battle Chasers Night War is also a game like that. So it makes sense that Riot picked this studio to make a game like that. So I don't really know much more about this game. I haven't really dug very deep into it, but you are a League of Legends player, Montrell, and this is a genre I think that does appeal to you. So does this game appeal to you in some way? Are you excited about this?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I need to see like more gameplay footage of it or whatever. But I'm
Hmm.
excited that they're expanding upon like the lore and everything like that. The whole story of the Blade of the Rune King is really interesting.
Yeah.
And the Shadow Isles and that whole thing in general, the lore behind that world is or that not the world, but that island rather, is really interesting. because once you go there, like you can't when you die, you can't really go to the afterlife. So you become like a shadowy figure of yourself or some kind of otherly creature. And the
Hmm.
whole point of the Blade of the Ruined King was there was a king over there who was like looking for something. I can't remember the whole story. I think it has something to do with like his dead wife or daughter or something like that. And like characters like Hecarim and Callista, if you played League of Legends, you know those characters are those are actual
Hmm.
champions. They were serving under this king, and they suffered the fate of like Hecarim is a like a headless horseman type person, but like he's a centurion
Yep.
type dude. And then Callista,
Hmm.
she throws spears, but she's like a ghostly figure and stuff like that. So these are once
Yep.
people. That's what the islands do to you. They turn you into those kind of people. And then obviously the Rune Kings is an actual item called Blade of the Rune King. Um, that you get and everything of that nature. Um, I
Yep.
am I am kind of concerned about the characters because they're all over the place. Like Misfortune, obviously they said this game's going to take place in like Bilgewater and Shadow Isles. And Bilgewater is like right there next to Shadow Isles. Um, and no, Bilgewater is their version of like Pirates of the Caribbean area and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Pirate. Yep.
So it makes
Yep.
sense that
Pirate.
like Misfortune and Lawi will be there, and Pike, because I think Pike suffered the same fate. He actually died, I think, somewhere near the Shadow Isles in the water because Gangplank was like, he needed him, then he betrayed him, and then he threw Pike off the ship, or whatever. So it makes
Yeah.
sense that, and I think Alawi has some kind of item from Shadow Isles. She can call these tentacles up, like these shadowy tentacles, and grab your spirit and stuff like that. So it makes sense.
Hmm.
But Braum, Yasuo, and Ari, those three are from uh, two different regions. Yasuo and Ari in particular are from a region that's similar to like the Japanese slash Chinese Eastern
Oh,
region,
what's it called? I'm
uh,
forgetting the name of the
Ionia.
region because yeah, yeah, that's right. Because yeah, they had this in Legends of Runeterra, the
Yeah,
card game. So
yeah,
I know some of these characters as well.
yeah. So they're from the Ionia area, particularly Yasuo, and I think Ari's from that region as well, because she's based off of, like Japanese mythology. Um,
Hmm.
and that's where they usually put all their Eastern characters, South Pacific or um, uh, South Asian rather, and uh, characters that are inspired. They usually put them in Ionia, whereas Braum is from fucking
The Ice
yeah, the
Nation.
Ice
I
Nation.
can't
I
remember
can't
the
remember
name.
the
I can't
fucking
remember what it's called. Yeah.
um
Oh yeah.
Failure.
I hate it.
Yeah,
It's FJ
it's
whatever. Yeah. Or yeah.
FREJ O
Failure.
failure. There you go, failure.
Yeah. There you go.
And that's their version of like the Norse mythology or whatever. So like Ash and
Hmm.
Tryndamere and Brahm are from that area. So that's interesting that they put those three in there. I don't know how they're gonna I I don't know how this is going to work story wise. To be honest with you, I just don't get it. I mean, maybe Yasuo he wandered over there because he's a wandering swordsman, so
Yeah.
I can stretch that. But like Ari, I can't see, and Braum is just like from left field. I can't see that as well.
Hmm.
Misfortunes obviously from the she worked with Gameplank and Pike did as well, and I think Alawi was like Gameplank's girlfriend at one point. So it's like uh
Yeah. It's only those six. That's interesting.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the first three make sense, but the other ones, I think they just threw them in there because I know Yasuo and Ari like extremely popular. So
Well, they want some diversity, I think, in gameplay and
okay,
characters
yeah,
as well, probably, right?
yeah,
Like they don't want them all to be similar, like ghostly or pirate characters,
yeah,
so because that would probably be boring in a turn-based RPG from a gameplay standpoint. So yeah, I don't, I need to see more of this game before I really kind of like feel like I'm gonna play it or not.
yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah, but I think the fact that they're fleshing out the League of Legends universe is good, obviously, and also I think, however, I'm going to be interested to see like how they tie this in with the actual game League of Legends in some way. Like, will there be an event in League of Legends when this game launches? With cosmetics and all sorts of other stuff tying in, with this game when it comes out, or Are they just gonna like poop this game out and not even really mention it at all in League? I'll be interested to see that because to
Well,
me they should probably have some sort of combined marketing effort, but
what's interesting
we'll see.
is I mean, you play Legends of Runeterra, right?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you ever get a card called Yane? Uh,
No, I stopped playing in early June, I think. So it's
okay.
been a while for me.
Well, I think they had the card upon release. Actually, it was Yasuo's brother, Yane, and he's actually now a character in League of Legends now. Um, so
Oh, actually, you're right. No, I do remember that character. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so
Oh, okay. So he wasn't actually a champion
no, he
in
wasn't.
League.
Nope, he was just a
They must have
lore.
been planning that.
Yeah, he was just a
Um,
lore person. Like that's who Yasuo had to
okay,
kill to get, leave or whatever, leave the village. And
I see.
yeah, he was in the he was announced in the card game, but then everyone was like, they may put him in the game as well, and they actually did. Um, uh, so I think they may do something like that here too. Maybe may get
Yeah.
like a spinoff, um, like side mode. They usually do like little season modes that you can do and everything of that nature, like ARAM and all that stuff where they
Hmm.
kind of swap out from just regular Summoner's Rift. As far as Summoner's Rift, the story, uh, I think they completely like negated what Summoner's Rift was actually for. Because I remember when I first read the story for Summoner's Rift, it was like a
Yeah.
place where because the legend of the world of Runeterra was constantly at war, so they're like, okay, you settle all your beefs here, you being your best champion, and you settle your beefs here instead of like constantly going to war. So now
Yeah.
they completely actually did a full reboot of the story, and I think which makes sense. I mean, we don't really need Summoner's Rift to be in
Justified.
justifying the story or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. I'm okay with it. A lot of people were a lot of older League of Legends fans were like they don't like it, but I just became a League of Legends fan like maybe 4 years ago. So
Yeah.
people who were there since the beta though, they were kind of upset about that.
Yeah, fair enough. That's gonna happen, dude. You're gonna be popular for so long that you have sections of your fan base,
Yeah.
that are different. Where like that's like me with Warcraft, right? Like I've been there since the '90s. I have a very different view of Warcraft than somebody that came in like 2008 with World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And it's so you have to kind of try to cater to all those people, but you're never gonna be able to do that in an effective way, more than likely. So I can see where Riot's coming from, and frankly, trying to justify something like League's gameplay in the actual storyline of League of Legends or Runeterra, whatever you want to call it, is there's no point to it. Like,
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Just take it out and make it its own. Just be like, look, this is just some weird thing that all these characters are a part of, but there's a storyline and lore outside of this that is an ongoing story.
I
I
think
think
I think
there's nothing wrong with that.
I think Apex Legends gonna go with that route as well. I don't know. Do they actually die in the arena? Like when they go into the
No,
arena? Okay, so
no, no, no.
maybe
It's a like they I don't know the actual lore behind it in Apex, but the characters talk about being in matches and they don't like they've released some little story comics and like these little story narrative things,
mhm.
and the characters talk about being in the arena and like fighting each other and in like winning and not winning or whatever. And it's like, so if that's the case, they definitely don't die
Okay.
when they get beaten. So
Yeah, I guess that makes
yeah.
sense. I like how Apex is doing that. Like they didn't really include it as a main staple with how Summoner's Rift was included as a main staple within League of Legends. It's
Yeah.
just like a side event
Hmm.
that happens. Like people, they're like
Yep.
celebrities almost, but they have their own stories outside of that. Um,
Hmm.
which I think Overwatch has failed in my opinion. Where
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
yeah, so I mean that makes sense. But yeah, I
It's
mean
funny how.
you say what?
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say
Go ahead.
I think them expanding upon their lore. I think that reboot is something they needed because I always after they did the reboot, I read the lore before the reboot. I was there a year before the reboot happened, so I did read up on all the lore, and I was like, man, some of this is kind of outdated. Like it was just some weird stuff I read. I'm like, I don't know about this. Like it was just really weird. and then they started bringing new characters into the fold. They just had to reboot the lore because there wasn't any room for new characters or
Yeah.
what the characters are now when they were reworking the characters. It just
Hmm.
didn't make sense lore wise. I think like one character, Akali is one of those, right? Her lore doesn't fit the time of what we are as a people, if that makes any sense. Like she
Yeah.
was like super subservient to fucking Shin, and she's like, anything my master does, I want. And now she's like a renegade rogue ninja who doesn't give a fuck about anything. It's like, yeah, I can see that. I can see her being so good that she just
Hmm.
doesn't apply to what Shin wants her to do and shit like that. So I think the reboot was just a really good thing, in my opinion.
Well, also you got to think about it too. A lot of that was written in a time period for Riot when they were like a baby company. You know,
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
were they were tiny and they were nothing. They weren't on the map yet. You know, so they weren't like a seasoned studio that could actually hire good writers. They were a bunch of people who were basically making a startup and were maybe not qualified to be writing, you know, lore for a game universe.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's I think it kind of makes sense for them to have rebooted all that. So yeah, so we'll see with this game. I'm definitely intrigued by it. I love to see a company like Riot really branching out from their esports multiplayer centric style of game. You know, even though this isn't being made by Riot proper, it's been outsourced to another studio. It's still their IP, so
Yeah.
they care very much how this game does and how it is, and like if it's fun to play. So I do expect this to be a good game, no matter what, more than likely. So we'll see it next year.
All right.
All right, so we got one more story. Um, in an earnings call, Ubisoft recently had an earnings call, and they basically announced that Far Cry 6 and I don't even know if this was announced, but Rainbow Six Quarantine have been moved out of fiscal 2020 to 2021 into fiscal 2021 to 2022. So next year, their fiscal year ends on March 31st. So that would be March 31st, 2021. So the games will be coming out after that. They did say that these games would have come out during this fiscal year had COVID not happened.
Okay.
The pandemic has impacted them in terms of development, so I don't expect the delay to be very long on these games, but nonetheless, it will probably be in the latter half of next year in 2021. Montreal, are you sad about Far Cry 6?
No, I haven't played Far Cry since like Far Cry 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you weren't even really anticipating this game.
No, I didn't even know it was coming out
Um,
until you mentioned it.
well, yeah, no, we talked about it, man. Remember what's his name? The dude from
Oh, fucking the Breaking
Breaking
Bad
Bad.
guy. Yeah.
I don't. Why can I never
I
remember
can't
his
remember
name?
his name either. I'm sorry. He's
Yeah,
such
me
a good
either.
actor.
But yeah, yeah. He's playing the main villain. So yeah, I'm not a Far Cry fan. I've never played one, so I don't personally care that much. But for those of you that do, just know that it is now a little bit delayed. That's it for news, Montreal. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you would like to discuss?
No, I don't think so.
Fair enough, man. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go start scouring the internet for information about PlayStation 5s that I can go buy.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, man. I know.
Uh,
I'm probably not gonna get one. So
just to
yeah.
give y'all a background, on that studio for Riot, they made the Darksiders Genesis game, and that shit is getting like a 9 out of 10. I heard that game's really fucking. I just looked at the Metacritic for it; it's really fucking good,
Mhm.
actually. So it's a twin stick
Yeah, and
shooter.
Battle Chasers also has a pretty high Metacritic as well. That
Okay,
was they're kind of an indie studio. That game was their first game, I think.
okay,
But it was one I owned for a while and never got around to playing. So, but it looked very, very good.
okay,
So they have a decent pedigree for sure.
okay, cool.
All right, well, that's going to be it for us, guys, for this week. So we hope that you liked the show. And if you did, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. And if you could, please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with either of us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show is at the Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And hopefully next week, at least Montrell will have the PlayStation 5, and he will be able to give us some impressions on that console.
Hopefully.
And let us know if the SSD is as sweet as we all feel like it should be.
I am dealing with
it's
GameStop,
not.
so
That's true. And dude, I did see a video. Somebody, it was actually Greg Miller from Kind of Funny, posted of load times for Avengers on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, and it was not good on either one of them.
Really?
It was like a minute 45 on Xbox Series X,
on the newer consoles,
and then it was over 2 minutes on PS5. Yeah.
That game.
Now I will say that game may be a bad example because it is an online game.
Okay.
So I would like to see this with games that are fully offline and are fully installed on the hard drive. But yeah, so you can maybe tell us that when you get your PlayStation 5 next week, my friend.
All right. I would definitely.
Let's hope GameStop comes through for you.
Hopefully, because I do plan on buying Destiny. So, well, actually, I think that comes out on the Xbox only right now.
It's already out.
Okay. Yeah. So
you might even be able to get it on PC too.
Okay.
Actually. We'll see. All right, guys. That's going to be it for us. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you on the next one. All right. Bye.